welcome to our Chicago Big Ten Network studios. This is Big Ten Today. I am Mike Hall, and this is Andy Katz, who, and this is true, is in his 16th city in 2 days.
I don't know if that's true, but I will tell you what's true. You know you're in the heart of Big Ten basketball season when one gate next to you is Jordan Taylor in Cedar Rapids. You land at O'Hare, and who yells out my name? But Sean Morris, who just did another game last night and is on his way somewhere else.
Right.
So we have Big Ten analysts, reporters, anchors all over the Midwest at every airport.
You were in Iowa City last night. You were part of the broadcast crew, and why don't we start there with our show today, as it is the big story. It was a pretty fascinating game, Iowa and USC. It ended up being a 1-point victory for Iowa, 73-72. Bennett Sturtz had 20 points on the game, but the two most important ones came from the free throw line with 4 seconds left. Iowa was great from the stripe, 19 of 22 on the day. It ruined a USC comeback, and here's what Ben McCollum had to say to somebody afterwards.
All right, Ben, you can exhale. The tie is off. How did you pull that off?
No clue. We couldn't get stops. They kind of went to something where he got within 5 feet and he just touched it in. Really tricky because he's such a good passer, so we didn't want to get other people going, and then he got going, and then we had problems stopping him, and he played a heck of a game. We played well enough to be able to win. Just got to be able to close it out.
So you're talking about Cam Woods, and then that last bucket to get the lead, they went to Coffee inside, but then you guys had to make a play. Bennett gets fouled and converts the 2 free throws, so he had to do something. What did he do to make sure he got fouled?
I think they just fouled him. I think they thought they were down, to be honest, because it was pretty intentional. I don't know. He came up and just fouled him, and we'll take it because they had him trapped. We were in trouble. I was going to call a timeout, but it's a heck of a deal. We'll take the win.
Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That's a pretty honest, revealing a quote from a coach right at the end of the game. USC was down 17 points in the second half. They make this huge comeback, and they're up by 1. Iowa has the ball, and they foul him. And not just him, but a great free throw shooter. He hits them both. USC loses the game.
So I want to be honest. I was kind of blocked. I thought, from my vantage point, that Bennett had sort of created some contact. Not that he shouldn't get called, but that Easter and the trap can come on to him, and then he would get fouled. Now, as I see it more times, he was in trouble. Like, Easter fouled him, and you see the reaction from Easter like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. And, they had him trapped. Could he have gotten out of the trap by trying to get rid of the basketball with only a couple seconds? Probably not. I thought actually Bennett was going to come down and, avoid that side and just launch it. I will say this, was it 2 plays before when Cam Woods hit that 3? I thought that was a great play by Chad Baker-Mazara, who, by the way, turned 26 2 days ago in Iowa City.
It's crazy.
Birthday cake in Iowa City. And so, he passed it off, and he's more of that sort of that last second kind of shooter. And then, they dumped it off to Coffee, who gets the bucket. But even when they had 4 seconds, or actually it was leading less than that, I think it was Woods that launched the final shot. I kind of thought it was going to be Chad Baker-Mazara at the end, even though it had been Woods' night. So there was a lot of things happening in that final 30 seconds. It was pretty wild after an 11-0 start for USC. Then they went cold. Iowa got hot.
Yeah.
It looked like it was over. Double-figure win for Iowa. And then they come storming back behind the midseason Robert Morris transfer,
right.
Cam Woods.
So let's give perspective on that, right? Rodney Rice gets injured for USC, and he was expected to play a big role all season long.
As he did for Maryland last year.
Exactly. And Coach Musselman needs to find somebody. So he finds Cam Woods from Robert Morris, a midseason transfer. He only joined the team 4 days before Christmas. He had 25 points total this year in the 8 games he had played. He hadn't scored double digits once. How did he drop 33 on the road in this game?
Well, I want to give you even more perspective. So Amari Dickerson's out. Terrence Williams, remember him from Michigan,
Sure.
Broken hand last year at USC. He's never been the same. So now you're down Rice, Dickerson, Williams, sort of. That's 3 guards. Jordan Marsh, turf toe.
Right.
He's the one who hit that 3, if you remember that triple overtime game against Troy, transfer from Asheville. He's out the last 2 games. So now you're down, 4 guards. So someone else had to help out. Cam Woods is the guy. What's really interesting, we talked about this on the broadcast last night, and we'll see if this happens. So first of all, you have to have a scholarship available to add a midseason player, which USC did. Cam Woods wasn't happy in the portal of his options. So he actually sat out the first semester, looking, surveying.
Pretty big risk.
Big risk. And USC picks him up. And so could we see other players like that at that level, the one bid league level? You're looking for a jump up. You don't like your options. Maybe you want more money somewhere else. And you roll the dice. He did, and look what happened. Yeah. He clearly was not someone Iowa was focusing on. They were focusing on Asar and Chad Baker-Mazara, of course. And Woods, who's, he reminds me of sort of a little bit, he's got a body, I'm going to date myself here, a little bit of like a Vinnie Johnson,
sure,
the old
microwave.
Yeah, because he's really stocky and he's low to the ground. And I'll tell you, they could not get in front of him. He was getting to the rim right and left.
I know you texted Muss afterwards, but not long. Do you think he was surprised by that? He had to be.
Oh, very much so. That was not the plan to foul,
right.
To foul Sturts. But no, they were thrilled, obviously, that Woods delivered because Iowa did a good job on Chad Baker-Mazara. And Asar fouled out. So defensively, Iowa did the right things, just there was no way they expected that Cam Woods would go off like that. No one would.
He scored 19 straight points for the team at one point. He played all 40 minutes. This guy hadn't scored double digits all season long. He barely knows the campus he's on. Just an outrageous game. What a fun one to be.
How many people you think don't know what state Robert Morris is in?
Many?
Do you?
No. Virginia.
Pennsylvania.
That's what I said. I said Pennsylvania. Check the tape. All right, that was only one game that had a major comeback on the evening. There was another one between Wisconsin and Minnesota. The Badgers get the win, 67-63. They were down 18 points at the half. What a wild comeback there.
Crazy. Think of what happened the last time these two teams played. Dave Revson on the call, great call on the buzzer beater for John Blackwell.
Right.
And so a couple weeks later, it looks like Minnesota's taking out the revenge on Wisconsin. Wisconsin's coming off a real disappointing performance against USC and looked like they're going to lose a couple in a row after they built momentum, after they beat Michigan, buzzer beater Minnesota, beat Rutgers. Looked like 2 steps back for the Badgers, and yet here they come. Great play down the stretch. Blackwell hits, again, sort of the clinching 3, just not at the buzzer. So great win for Wisconsin, needed win. Minnesota, they're just having a year where they're snake bitten. They just continue to lose these games late, but they're in every game. But the other thing, Cade Tyson wasn't playing.
Right. That's a
huge loss. For Minnesota, it's kind of like Nebraska the other night, where Nebraska almost beats Michigan on the road.
No rink mask.
Without rink mask and Braden Frager. Here's Minnesota building up a massive lead without their best player in Cade Tyson. So hats off to Nico Medved. He's doing a great job up there. They just haven't been able to turn it. It's year 1, but there's definitely a buzz going.
Yeah.
And people are believing at the barn.
Yeah, they lost 6 in a row, but one was by 1 point. One was by 3 points. This one was by 4 points when they were up at halftime by more points than their opponent had. So they're showing, like you said, a lot of great things for chunks of games, just not for the entire
They're
game.
going to be a spoiler. I have no doubt that as these teams that are in that sort of muddled middle in the Big Ten that are trying to get these wins, you cannot count a Minnesota home or road win.
Right.
In your column. You're talking to Tom Izzo coming up.
Correct.
Next Wednesday night, where will I be?
The barn?
The barn against Michigan State.
Very good.
That's another game. That Michigan State, they cannot
overlook that.
Cannot overlook that. It's going to be a very difficult game.
One more thing on the Wisconsin side.
I started throwing my schedule for you.
Thank you very much. We were all concerned at home. One more thing from that Wisconsin win that was interesting to me. They made 1 2-point shot in the first half. They had 10 paint points total on the day.
That's not your father's Badgers.
Right.
Things are different. They obviously have players that can shoot threes. And again, Greg Gard has adjusted to the personnel.
Right.
this is not sort of from the Bennett-Ryan era where it's, hey, this is where we're going to play.
Yep.
You come here, this is what we're doing. Greg is adjusting. That's what you have to do today. You have to adjust to your personnel.
Yeah.
And they're doing a good job with that.
First matchup on the evening yesterday was UCLA against Oregon, and it was another win for the Bruins. They've now won 5 of their last 6. And remember, a handful of days ago, they beat Purdue. Mick Cronin afterwards, not happy at the world, doesn't like his schedule, doesn't like what's happening. We saw this last year.
Yes,
remember that? And
yes.
Last year it was less of an immediate impact. I don't know how much is correlation or causation between things like this, but he got mad at his team, and then a couple weeks later they're playing really good. He gets mad at the world in this last one, and they're winning ball games again.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's ridiculous to complain about the schedule because what happens is you get it back on the back end if you're on the road a lot in the front end. And by the way, like USC, Musselman requested to have 3 straight road games early in January when they went Michigan, Michigan State, and Minnesota to get one of those out of the way. So look, I don't want to hear it because it's ridiculous. They're in a nice stretch right now.
Yeah.
Where they've got a bunch of home games. They just had a couple of home games. And
by the way, they beat Purdue. They
yes,
won that,
yes,
the whole point. That was the beginning of the complaint.
And they beat Northwestern. Now they're going to get Indiana at home. They're one trip in the middle of this big homestand to the West Coast to a team that's missing 3 starters, essentially, in Oregon. So the schedule is very favorable for them. By the way, the beauty of a 6 p.m. Big Ten Network game is you can still watch the other 2 games.
That's true.
So
you're not
Wednesday.
just BSing us right now by looking at a box score.
I was back in the hotel in time to watch the late night games and then make sure I was here this morning. So that's the beauty of a 6 o'clock game. So if I can be on the 6
just
p.m.
be clear, we know his schedule next week, and we know his preferences in games. So Alex Birchie, if you're watching, just keep this in mind going forward.
Yeah, because then I can see all the games when I then talk about them on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Look, I feel bad for Oregon.
Yeah, so shorthanded.
I mean, I was not alone in thinking the Ducks could be a tournament team, a team that would finish in the top 5 in this league. But, I mean, Jackson Shellstead gone for the year. Nate Biddle's been never the same since his high ankle sprain, out again. Simpkins was out last night. They just don't have the personnel.
That's 3 of their top 4 scorers.
Yeah, Wei Lin was sort of an added pickup and was not supposed to be a primary guy. Now he has to be. That's a lot on his shoulders. And, look, the biggest difference for UCLA is, and we hyped him up rightfully so, Donovan Dent, is now in the last week playing like the former Mountain West Conference Player of the Year.
Right.
So he wasn't early in the season. Whether or not he and Sky Clark really meshed early, I mean, things weren't connecting. They are now. Now Clark's out still with the hamstring injury, but Donovan Dent has raised his level. And if he continues to play at this level, UCLA is going to be fine. They'll be in the tournament, and they could win a couple games.
Yeah, for Oregon, you're looking at 7 straight losses. They haven't won a game since the day after New Year's. Altman came in with this remarkable streak. He'd won 20 games every year. 15 seasons at Oregon, he'd always won 20 games. Now they're sitting at 8-13. If you say that's a jeopardy, you're being kind.
Yeah, no, it's going to have to be a complete rebuild.
Yeah.
And look, we know that Oregon has incredible, sponsorship essentially with Nike.
Sure.
So they back their athletic programs, obviously football and other sports and track and field and so on. So the funds are there in this new world. They're just going to have to go out and do it. I mean, they're too prideful. I don't see this as a downward spiral with the program. It's just an unfortunate event. I mean, they're honest about this. They made sure they retained, which on paper looked great, Biddle, Shellstad, and Evans. They didn't really do enough with the rest of the roster. And then when you lose those 2 of those 3 to injury, you're in trouble.
Yeah, how many teams across the country, if they lose their number 1, number 2, and number 4 scorers, are going to be in a good position? Just about nobody.